What I found is that certain nationalities were selling sex. Majority of the crew are men. So actually the women on board are a commodity. I spoke to a couple of like the girls on my team. I was like, do you find this guy a bit creepy because of how he messages? And like, do you feel like he always wants to hug? The girls also said he's been doing the same thing to them. And this is what I mean about the lines being blurred, because in a professional manner, in an office setting, or even in a show in West London, the stuff just wouldn't go down. But also you don't live next door to these people. So that's what's quite scary too.
Ahoy, ahoy to all you smooth sailors out there, and welcome aboard the Deck Tales podcast. I'm your host and captain, Sammy Catlin, and this is where we dive headfirst into life at sea. From stunning destinations to unexpected storms, our guests have stories that will make you laugh, gasp, and maybe even shed a tear. Whether you're a seasoned sea dog or simply curious about life on board, Deck Tales is your boarding pass to a world of nautical narratives. My guest today is joining us anonymously and for very good reason. Known to us as Sarah, she's a cruise ship activity host who spent months living below deck, hyping thousands of guests while surviving 0 days off, ship politics and some truly wild behind the scenes moments. From sea rescues to staff scandals, Sarah's here to tell the stories passengers never hear and expose a side of cruise life you'll never see on social media. This one's messy, revealing, and absolutely not ship approved. So let's anchor up and dive right in. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Normally I would say whereabouts are you calling, but for the purposes of this interview, I don't want you to give me any identifiers at all because you're doing this completely anonymous.
Anonymous.
Not only are you using an avatar and a fake name, your real name is not Sarah, but you're also using a voice modulator so that you sound a bit mannish.
I am. Do I sound mannish? Oh no.
Borderline.
Borderline?
Let's just pretend you're on week 2 of hormone therapy or something.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's do that. I'm happy with being on hormone therapy. Let's go.
So, Sarah, how long have you been in the industry? What is it you do? And is it something that you're going to start or continue to do?
So I started working as an activity host on one of the biggest cruise ships that are known as the fun ships. That's how they promote themselves. So my job was to be a fun person, hosting activities, and I started earlier this year in February, and I stayed on the ship all the way up to August. I am accepted another contract, so I'm literally about to start another ship in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be going from America to the Caribbean and South America.
With the fun ships, that's pretty clear in my mind as to which company that is. A quick Google, and I can tell you that that company in particular has around 52,000 employees just with that one brand. But that company has an umbrella of owning many other different brands. Mm-hmm. And within that, they have over 160,000 employees. So we're not going to give away too much.
No,
just in case they not manage to narrow it down to you.
Exactly. We give him a little tease. I won't name the names. I will just allude to it.
But you've done one contract up to date, that's right?
Yes, I have done one contract up to date, yeah. And
what would you say, like, as a newbie going in, and we're of a similar age, right? So
we are.
You've had, you've got other jobs behind you. We've got a mutual friend who, connected us.
Exactly, yeah.
And I know that you worked on the West End with him, but I won't say which show because that narrows it down even
more. We'll be so elusive with this. So yeah, like my performance career has been in London, touring all over the UK, West End, but on the ships I was hosting the activities. And I think compared to like the cast who just do the shows on board, it's a very different lifestyle. So the casts that I worked with on ships, they rightfully so get days off and hours off, and they have unions behind them. But as somebody who just hosts the activities, we don't get any days off. And I think I found that extremely hard, working 7 days a week for 6 months straight. Because although we will go into these amazing places, and that is the reason why I'm doing another job, because I just want to go to these countries and it is a great way to see the world. But I think working 7 days a week is ridiculous when you are supposed to be the hype, the energy, the fun on board. That was literally part of my title. And you know, you get sick, you have your bad days, and yeah, like it is part of the job to do that. But I think to keep things humane, I think a day off is not unreasonable to ask. And in a rotation, I think it could personally work, especially if it's done with other members on boards. I found the hierarchy on the ship worlds quite hard to cope with. It seems like there was kind of the school mentality or college mentality. And yeah, I didn't like how certain people got privileges, let's say, and other people didn't. And sometimes that was because of the countries they came from. There was quite a lot of politics I found quite hard to deal with on the ship, because it is literally like, I think we had 64 nationalities on board. And obviously politically is, you know, everybody has different visas, everybody has different responsibilities on the ship. But when you become friends with these people and, you know, they're working 12 to 14 hours with little to no rest as well. And then some of them are working 9 months contracts. I find that quite difficult emotionally as a human being to watch that happen to people every single day, and then be kind of like, I don't know, not punished, but yeah, just told that this is just part of the job and like be grateful basically, which, you know, we are grateful we have a job. But I think the cost of people that are paying to be there, if they knew some of the things that were going on board, I think, you know, they would want us to be treated with equal respect as guests on board, and that I found really hard to cope with and deal with.
And you said just now about, you know, there are 64 nationalities on board, or just you know, for argument's sake, you are,
yeah.
And I think it's not going to narrow it down too much to mention this, but you are from London, and there's a lot of nationalities here as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think when you are from London and you work with people from all over the world in London, you're treated with equal respect. That's what I found. You will find people of all nationalities who are CEOs, who are cleaners, who are managers, and we treat people with the same respect, whereas I feel like that's not the same on the ship. But also because I am from London, but my family got Indian descent, so that was also hard for me to watch, because I felt like a lot of the Indian people on the ship weren't treated like how I would be treated. And even because I have a British strong London accent, people also treated me differently. And yeah, I noticed people moved up in the departments if they spoke with an accent like mine. And I was like, that's mad. Because basically that happened on my contract, where somebody had to cover as the cruise director. And instead of picking somebody who had worked for 6 years within this company, they had a Mexican accent. They were not picked because they apparently didn't speak clear enough for people to understand them. And they picked somebody with a British accent who had only worked 2 contracts. Yeah, I found that wild. Yeah, very, very wild. So it makes you think about, yeah, where you're placed in that, but morally, like how that sits for you.
Well, you mentioned earlier, just quickly, about the privileges that some people got that some others didn't. What are some of the examples of the privileges you saw being given to some that weren't given to others?
Obviously, like some of the cast members, they get a day off. Other people wouldn't get a day off. Some of the officers would have like their own private rooms and like more space. They would also get private dining. But also I think but what I realized on board is that it's not what you know, it's who you know. So if you made friends with the people in the kitchen, if you made friends with the people that are the managers, they would sneak you stuff on board. I think what I was referring to is more how I noticed some people were being spoken to. Some of my friends in the engine department, they had very hard laboured jobs. So they were called the wipers. So they're down in the engine, literally like wiping and like doing physical labour, like churning these things. And the girl that I was friends with is from Nigeria. And when she repeated to me how because her role was predominantly men, had a male manager and she was the only female. I think there was one female who came later from the Philippines. And she was just repeating to me like how rude they would speak to her, how when she told them like she was feeling ill or time of the month, like her body isn't the same as a man's, like, so we don't function in the same way. When it's your cycle every 28 days, that's gonna affect you, and it's just the fact that there's like no empathy or sympathy towards that, and that you needed to have a medical signed certificate off to have a day off. And that just was, it's so hard to be on a ship when that is happening and these people are speaking to them in a derogatory manner but speaking to me nicely, but because I don't have nothing to do with them. So it was a lot of smile and wave, boys, smile and wave.
Well, you've been in theatre and West End and all of that for a while. What was it? What was it that at this stage in your life said, "Hey, why don't I, go and give ships a go"? What was the reason behind that?
I think in London there has been a lack of funding. So after I was doing West End contracts, I went more into movement directing and working more creatively, writing as well. But I noticed that auditions for West End and for the higher paying jobs were coming less and less. And so London was becoming quite hard for me to live comfortably, let's say. And I just thought, do you know what? I just really want to work abroad. Like a lot of my friends have done it. But like you said, we are of the same age. And to come into cruise ships at this age, again, you know yourself in a different way than what you did in your 20s. And I think what I would have accepted in my 20s, I don't accept now. I'm more stronger and confident in myself to speak up and say when something's right. Whereas in my 20s, I'd be like, oh, is that how it is? Oh, okay, cool. Basically, I turned for the weather. That is basically it. London's weather and the jobs were not as much of abundance as they used to be. And maybe that is like to do with my casting age and things like that. That's why I chose it.
Well, that's fair enough. Do you still have to go through the training before you go on board for your next contract, or is that all done and dusted now?
No, and that's again what I found was pretty weird. So basically, the whole interview and audition process for me was fairly straightforward. So in the interview room, you just had to work in a group and kind of basically speak to the room as a bubbly person, like interacting. Yeah, that's it. Just lead an activity. And if they saw you had personality, then you had a one-on-one interview with them about what ship life would be like. And I think they do try to stress to you that it is difficult to live on board, but they don't tell you exactly all the things you're going to be doing. So there wasn't actually any training for me because they asked me what my experience was. And because I am 37, I have a lot of experience. I teach workshops, I host events, I perform, I teach dancing. Like I have a lot of the skills that are required. But as a host on these ships, you work in the theatre, so you are basically an usher. You work on the deck parties, so you are hosting these parties, but you're also like making sure everybody's having fun. You are basically do these headphone parties. So you're basically security for these headphones, make sure everyone gives them in, gives them back. But you also let people... Exactly. You basically also have to let people on and off the ship. So one of the hardest jobs we have to do is on embarkation day. We are the people who basically are security. So we line everybody up and make sure that it's safe and that they've come down in grouped numbers. So can you imagine there's like 3,000 people on the ship? If 3,000 people come down at the same time, it's absolute chaos. So the cruise director basically calls numbers from 1 to 10 and you have to know which group number you're in. And it is still chaos because people don't listen. People are just like, no, I want to come off. I need to get off now. And you have to be that person to be like, I'm sorry, it's actually not your turn because you need to get your number or you need to go do this, you need to go to customer service. And when they've had that interaction with you, but then you're also the party starter, it can be quite confrontational. And you have to be very diplomatic, but speak to them in a calm, concise way, even though you've been up since 5 a.m. and you went to bed at 11 p.m. because you also hosted the last night party. So I found that quite difficult in terms of managing my energy levels because, again, there's no days off. So then you let those people off from 5 a.m. till 9 a.m. Everybody needs to be off the ship. Then you get to go off the ship between 9:30 and maybe like 2 p.m, 2:30. And then you need to be back on the ship because then everybody has, for the next cruise, has been coming on since maybe like 11. They open the doors. So there's just this constant like cycle of energy. And it's like, when is that time for me to rest and recoup? Because then we'd come back on board between 2 and 3, and then we have the sail away party at like 4 p.m. So the ship actually sails off at about 3:30, 4 p.m. So then you have to have this energy from, I don't know where you find this energy from, to get everybody up and be like, welcome aboard. We're going to start some party. And we basically have a party with them for 45 minutes, which now they want to extend to 1.5 hours. And make it more child friendly. They want us to do these child friendly games, get everybody in a circle. But again, as you can imagine, that's chaos because, you know, you've got people that just want to get on board and drink. You've got like people that don't want to be surrounded by kids, but now, their brand is to be more child friendly. Be more inclusive and child friendly. Family friendly. That's the word.
Is the ship you're going to bigger than the one that you just came from?
No, thank God it's not. It's smaller. That is what I requested. So what I learned is that you come down a little and you slot middle of the ship because I had a lot of experience. They put me on one of the biggest ships, and it was actually like one of the most highly requested ships because of the destinations. We went to Australasia, and this company is mainly American based and mainly goes to South America and the Caribbean, which were the places I wanted to go. Obviously, I'm not going to turn down that amazing contract. But this next ship is supposedly smaller. I think it's maybe 2,000 to 2,500. So it's still huge.
But there's about 500 passengers less.
Yeah. And I think that is such a nice environment to work in because then the people do really know you and they see you. And the first cruise I'm doing is a 10-day. And I think these long cruises, the passengers get to know you. It's more authentic. And you can just be a bit more real with them rather than this kind of like fake high energy of everything's amazing, fun, hi. You could just be like, because they don't want that all the time either. And that's a common misconception, or that's kind of what we're told we need to be. And I'm like, nah, we actually don't.
Just for reference, I worked on 2 ships in my time, and the head count for the guests was around 500.
Really? Is that it? That's nice.
That was very nice. Everyone knew everyone. It was one big giant family, but very manageable. With some of these ships now, with the guests and the crew, the number is around 10,000.
Wow.
right? Just around there. That doesn't appeal to you at all, I'm guessing.
No, that is absolute chaos to me because on my ships we had 1,500 employees below deck and then 3,000 to 3,500. And sometimes we were over capacity, which I don't really understand how they can do that because I remember when we wanted to have some friends on board who were on a sister ship nearby. And then usually you can get them on board because apparently we're usually under capacity or there's usually like a free cabin or something like that. But this seemed to have 4,000 passengers. And I was like, maybe that's because some of the rooms are like family rooms or whatever. And yeah, I don't know, but I couldn't.
They double booked.
Yeah, I couldn't do this 10,000 people ship. That is just, it's too, I'm claustrophobic.
So you've only done the one contract, but is there a scariest moment that stands out in that time?
Yeah, the scariest moment I think was when we had passenger fatality. Basically, there's a lot of elderly people on this ship, and we had just finished a theatre show. And so we opened the doors, and everybody's supposed to exit calmly. However, at the back of the theatre, there's a step for the back row. And I think this elderly lady must have tried to walk out before the crowds got out or before the show ended. And it's quite dark towards the back. And she fell and hit her head. And we only realised as the show went up, because we got medical response team basically alerted. So I think a passenger found another staff member. I think housekeeping were just outside the doors because they're usually cleaning in the atrium. And so then we had to clear the theatre. The medical response team had to come round with like a white cloth and stand around so people wouldn't see it because I think her head was bleeding. Everyone was panicking about this lady because people knew her, people's family knew her. Again, like people, it was a long cruise. So anyway, we had to clear people out of the theatre. And then the medical response team did really well. And they took her down to the medical centre, but they didn't have the equipment to basically help her. She needed to be airlifted out of the ship, and then the ship needed to divert their route to get to a hospital because the hospitals didn't have what this lady needed. So we needed to change route off the ship to get to, I think it was like a Cairns or like
somewhere where they had the facilities.
Yeah, and that was and so that was really scary because I was just thinking, what would I have responded quickly enough? Would I have seen that person? Like, it was just like a moment of panic, and lucky whoever saw it first responded quickly, and then my job was just basically to direct the people. But again, that is still quite challenging because everyone's, what is going on? What's happening over here? Like, people were getting out their phones and stuff like that, and I think that's quite disrespectful, but also understandable because people want to share what is happening with their family. I don't know. But I think it just causes heightened fear and a response and then this goes around the ship. Yeah. And it goes around the ship and there's all these Facebook groups. Look what happened on this ship. And yeah, so that was a scary moment. And we had quite a few medical response alerts. And so that travels around the ship again, because then you don't know what it is and how that's going to affect you. So one time there was somebody fainted and, the staff around, I don't think knew what to do. So I saw that one, so I called the medical response team. But then again, it's like, oh, whoever saw that, it becomes like gossip around the ship, like between the guests and the staff. So then it was like, oh, so-and-so saw this and they didn't do anything. And then this person, that person, and then suddenly security's involved. And like, yeah, these things become sensationalized on the ships as well, when it was like, it's fine, guys. It got dealt with.
He said, she said, this, that, the other.
Yeah.
You said that you didn't really get much training prior to going on because you had sort of certain skill sets and stuff. But once you got on board,
yes,
were you given you're training pretty much on the job. I'm guessing
On the job. So
they
basically,
still do the drills and everything.
yeah, and that was so mind-boggling because first of all, I'm just trying to get to know what everything on this ship is. Then suddenly I need to know how to respond like in a fire drill. And again, like with 1,500 people moving through this space, knowing where they, and speaking different languages as well. Sometimes I wasn't amongst people that you have to speak English, but English on the ship is quite broken. So you need to just basically say certain words that the people around you may know. So that
Mayday.
yeah, basically that training was intense. And then there's all these online courses that you also have to do and complete. So amongst my 8 to 10 hours a day on the ship, I would then be on the computer filling out all these safety drills and what would you do in this situation? What is this called? And so, yeah, that was a lot.
They still have the big ring binders, the manuals of the things to look through. They're quite weighty, aren't they?
It's all digital now.
Well,
So basically,
I was gonna say you make me feel old, but we're about the same age. But
yeah,
when I was
no,
aboard,
that's how they do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
So imagine that ring binder, but 40 pages on a PDF that you have to either read on your phone or on your screen, and that's the other thing. You either have to use their computers to take you to the site, or you can only have one phone attached to the Wi-Fi, because I couldn't attach my laptop to it because it blocks like your VPN, and you're only allowed like social media or certain hours to use proper internet. It's so weird on the ship. So like, I don't think they make it easy for you. Well, I didn't find it easy. I think there's always ways to improve, but maybe again, I'm just not used to this.
So
Yeah.
you think it's a case of they've got all the gear, but really no idea.
That's a good catchphrase.
No, yeah, it's applicable to many things at sea.
Yeah.
Have you had any really like, oh, just I want the ground to swallow me up moments and the last contract? Most embarrassing moments so far?
Oh. Most embarrassing, I think, is when you're sick, because the first month I was like physically sick, like throwing up, and both ends as well. And so you're in a
Seasick?
Yeah, seasick, and then diarrhea. Because the ship's food, your body's not used to it. So it's basically coming out of both ends. But I was in a guest area and I was just about to host an event. And so I just had to message on the WhatsApp, and I was like, because we have like a crew WhatsApp with everybody on the entertainment team to cover Yeah, and I was like, is anybody available? Is anybody free to cover this? Like, I'm literally throwing up. It's coming out both ends. I didn't say that on the group chat, but it was going
Less is more.
down. Yeah. I didn't need to know it all. And thank God somebody could cover, because that's the other thing too. Like, everybody is so run down. Nobody gets paid extra for covering you. So you just have to be like, hey, you got this one for me. I'll do an extra one for you like tomorrow, whenever I was feeling better. So that was embarrassing. However, no, there was a more embarrassing moment. When I first got on the ship, I didn't know the rules. Okay, so this is what I mean. Like, there's a lot of information that is passed on verbally, but there's so much information that I forget. And basically, one of the rules is you're not allowed to take pictures, but everyone was taking pictures. Yeah. You can't take pictures during an event.
Well, an event that you were hosting?
Yeah, so basically one of the deck parties, the cruise director was hosting, and we're just there to like be support, dancing around, interacting with the guests, hype.
Ensemble cast.
Yeah. But one of the other members was just being so funny. They were like jacking up their shorts up to their bum, like batty riders, basically. It's like short shorts.
Yeah.
And so I got out my phone because I was laughing so hard. I just forgot where we were, and I took a picture of him. And the cruise director saw me take out my phone and shouted on the mic, no, said my name, no, we don't do that, on the mic in front of
all the
everyone,
guests.
in front of all the guests. And then this was like one of my first parties. And I was like, why did you have to do that? Why did you have to say this? But it was like,
What a
are you
buzzkill.
trying to embarrass me? Yeah, buzzkill. And then one of the youth staff were there, because the youth staff also come up for the parties, and they were like, oh, you got your first banana. And I didn't know what the hell a banana was. So basically a banana is when you do, is a warning, basically. And I was just like, but you also didn't have to embarrass me like that. You could have just been like, put the mic down, or just tell me don't take, like, I literally, it was a quick snap. Like, what is gonna happen?
Yeah. Do you know why they call it a banana? Are they insinuating that you're all monkeys?
I don't know. I hope not. A banana, like, I don't know. It's supposed to be like,
That's even more condescending.
Right. That's what I mean, though. Some of the language on this shit's, I'm like, I don't know if we would accept this in like London life or like online stuff.
Yeah.
But we spoke about it as we came off, and I was like, I apologized to the cruise director. I was like, listen, I'm sorry I did that, but also, why did you have to say that on the mic? And he was like, no, I'm sorry. It's because, we just don't do that on the ship. We don't take out our phones. And that's just a strong rule he personally had, because I had two cruise directors after that cruise director who were like, take pictures. Like, oh.
So you had other people who came on after that cruise director, and they were okay with it.
Yeah, and they were just like, I don't know why that was such a big thing. I think that person was trying to embarrass you.
Yeah,
and
well, there are a few people like that where it's very like, these are my set of rules. I'm the head. This is like, and I experienced that as well when I was working for that company. Like on one ship, we were all made by the cruise director to all wear these god awful like ski track suits. You know, the kind of whoosh, 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 those type of material.
Yeah.
And the track suits that were on all the time. And then on the next ship, we weren't allowed them at all. It was strictly beige cream shorts.
Yeah.
And
yes,
it was like, well, I don't want to wear shorts. I ain't got the legs for them. Like, no, on this ship, we all wear shorts.
You must. Yeah. The uniform thing was very varied for me as well. Again, this certain cruise director didn't like it when I had like certain props or hats or like silly little things that made my personality me, which when they sold me the job, they were like, yeah, we absolutely want you for your personality, want you for your vibe. And this cruise director...
What were these extra items that you were putting on? They weren't like things in bad taste, like a fake arse or...
no, nothing like that. It was just like rainbow hats or like heart bunny ears or like...
How could you?
Sunglasses with stars on them. Like, they were just like
generic,
generic fun stuff, which also they had in the office for us. I didn't buy them specifically. They had them for like special events. So we hold like LGBTQ nights, so there's all these like rainbow hats, and I just walk around wearing them because I'm like, also I find it hypocritical if you want us to host these events, but then I can't walk around with that in an inclusive environment to make this normal on the ship, or that people know me as, that's always wearing the rainbow hat. Do you know what I mean?
It's PC gone mad.
Yeah. And then again, like with the other cruise directors, they were like, absolutely, we want you to bring your personality. Feel free to wear whatever you want to wear and dress up. That was the other thing, because we have dress up nights as well. This one cruise director only wanted me to wear like one prop that they had given us. But the other cruise directors would be like, no, we want you to go full out. Wear if you have, colour your hair, do your nails. And like guests had given me accessories and different shoes because we have themed nights, and the cruise director didn't like it. Again, I just think this cruise director was jealous. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why would you be so mad at that?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
So you had the one incident with the lady that needed to be airlifted. Did they end up okay?
Yes, they did end up okay. And that's what's really beautiful on the ships, actually, is that the communication to ensure that whatever happened, if she was okay, wasn't okay, would always get back to us, and then we could relay it to the guests, because the guests would always be asking. But another cool thing that happened, it wasn't scary, it was just like, whoa, it made you think humanity is where it needs to be. This was a really good thing this ship did. We rescued some people from a broken down catamaran. So they had broken down and the engine had stopped in the middle of the ocean. And they sent out a signal, and our ship picked up the signal, and we were the closest ship. So we managed to rescue, I think, 8 people and 4 dogs. So yeah, we got them on board. And yeah, again, everybody on Facebook, everybody was hanging out the boat, like, because we didn't make an announcement when we were saving them. We made an announcement the next morning to say we had saved them, because again, I think it was at like 2 a.m, so they're not going to wake people up and be like, by the way, guys, there's going to be
some dogs coming on board.
Yeah.
If you've got any allergies, please make yourself known.
Well, this is a thing, yeah. We don't allow animals on board usually. So these animals had to stay with the officers on a certain deck, and yeah, it had to all be like orchestrated with the environmental officer and all of that stuff. So that was something really amazing that happened on that ship, and it made me think, oh, good, we're doing something good out here.
Well, you'd have to be a certain kind of person, or a special kind of person, I should say, to just be like, oh yeah, no, not our problem.
No problem. Keep it moving.
Just keep on going.
Yeah.
Was there any insights into the inner workings of the hidden economy on board?
Oh yes. I remember. I only found that towards the end of my contract.
And this is within the crew?
Yeah, this is within the crew, yeah. So, like I said, there's people from different countries on board. And what I found is that certain nationalities were selling sex.
What? Yeah, okay. This isn't new news, but I mean, yeah, on your first ship, certain nationalities. So
yeah.
Okay, where and when? Like, I'm guessing after working hours. Well, like past the point where the guests have more or less gone to bed.
Yeah.
Exclusively in crew areas.
In crew areas, yeah. So again, majority of the crew are men. So actually the women on board are a commodity. And so when I referred to like school before, certain job titles would have sex with other job titles. So basically the officers would have sex with the cast or the spa girlies. Like they were like considered like the cheerleaders, let's just say, and the officers were like the jocks. But then there was quite a few staff that work in like maybe the bar or the jobs below the deck as well. So certain of the jobs that aren't seen above deck that you're not, they're not allowed actually. That was one of the things that the rules, they're not allowed in guest areas.
That's right.
Anyway, so what I found out is that it was mainly South African women were being paid for sex. Yeah, and I didn't realise that until literally like my last weeks, because then it's weird for me to be like, I mean, you know, it goes down everywhere in the world anyway, but I think because we're in such close quarters, again, everyone below deck, we're literally in bunk beds. So I was just thinking of the practicality of it.
Where are they hooking up? Yeah.
Yeah, like having sex with these people in their bunk beds. So yeah, I found that out. Because again, like the pay grade for them, they're working 6 months at ships, and everyone's got needs. Don't get me wrong, everyone's got needs. And yeah, like you either actually are attracted to someone or you choose to pay someone for it. I mean, get your money at the end of the day. But yeah, I realised that was going down.
I just remembered something that was quite funny. You were saying about how the officers were with the cast and the spa girls, and they were like seen as the, you know, the top, the creme de la creme. One day on one of my contracts, my cruise director said, think of it this way: the cast in the show team, they're like your Hollywood A-listers, and you guys, you know, Sam, you know, you lot, you're more like soap opera stars.
It's so true.
People might well want to get a picture with you and sit with you for a drink, but they won't run after you and be like, "Can I get your autograph as well?" You know, just bear that in mind that you're there, but you're not there. You know, reel it in.
That is true. But this is the thing. Like, it's so funny because then I've had certain passengers that, again, they see me all the time that were like, we really want your picture, we really want your picture. Like, and they actually would run
Yeah,
after you.
what I said isn't a science. That was one person's opinion.
No, yeah. But it is funny, though. It is funny about the whole jock star mentality. Yeah.
But the prostitution thing, that's going back to that. That's a big topic, obviously, with questionable activities that go on. Is it being regulated, or is everyone who's doing it, as far as you know, are they doing it off of their own back, or have they got have they got like a pimp or something like that?
Well, this is it, yeah, because I only heard it towards the end. I was like, how is this happening? I think they were doing it off their own back. I didn't notice that there was like one like kind of pimp or person orchestrating it. It was to get extra money, because they were like, these guys basically want pussy anyway, so that is your commodity, I'm gonna sell it. And so yeah, I think it was like off their own backs to get, rather than tips, because again, these were workers that wouldn't get tips, and we were in countries that people don't tip as much. They just want to make their money and take it back to their country. And so yeah, I think that was off their own back.
Well, there's more than one way to string a cat, as they say.
That's it.
People do have side hustles of various sorts on board. Did you yourself have any side hustles? Not to suggest that you were the
Did I pimp my pussy out?
No, it's not what I was getting at, Sarah. I was going to go for, did you do any other errands or things that might earn you an extra crust?
I did not have time. I would have loved to have made some extra peas. And I actually had a couple of confrontations about our pay, because as hours racked up and more was asked of us, because we had some weird holidays in July, and because they celebrate Christmas in July.
What?
We had, yeah, so basically in Australia celebrates Christmas in July.
How did I not know this?
So basically Australia has another Christmas in July. So we basically have to put up Christmas trees, Christmas parties, ugly sweater competitions. These are extra parties on top of what we were already doing. So I was working more in those 2 weeks in July than I had previously. So I was exhausted. And so I didn't say this in the most professional manner, which I regret, because again, that's something I found really hard to deal with, is that I would see these people professionally and then I'd see them in the bar after, and I had quite a few, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. I'm working more than 8 to 10 hours a day. I basically went off at the end, and I was like, I basically worked out that I was getting paid like $6 an hour. And I was like, this is crazy. And it made me go off on one about how inhumane this is. Yeah, I had to apologize the next day, basically, and say,
this is not when Christ was born.
No.
So blasphemous.
It's true. I was just like, how am I working? How am I this tired and working this much and having forced to be happy? That's what was killing me. I was like, my morale was down in the pits.
Do Australians not celebrate Christmas at Christmas as well then?
They do, but it's hot there. So basically their July is the coldest it's going to get. It's never even snowing. It was basically just rainy and cold. But that's their fun. That's their fun time to wear snuggly sweaters and jumpers and
I can understand it, but it's a bit like the Queen. She used to have 2 birthdays.
Just unnecessary.
But if you do it once a year, that's what makes it special. If you're doing it once earlier in the year because seasonally it's a bit colder and you get to snuggle up and wear your ridiculous jumpers, I guess that's okay. But every other country in the world where it's warm, do they all do it as well, or is that just the Aussies?
I don't know. It was strange to me, and I was just done with it. I just wanted to go home and actually have a holiday, have a day off, actually sleep in and not think about what I need to do later.
But you're going to be on the next ship when it is Christmas.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm apprehensive about that. But again, with a smaller ship, Like, I've spoken to people who are already working on that ship right now, and they have calmed my nerves down by saying that it is quite a chill ship. But they don't know, again, what the run up to Christmas is going to be like. It's just everybody else that works for this company has warned me that Christmas is chaos and Christmas isn't fun. New Year's isn't fun because you're running around trying to get fireworks sorted. Everyone's shouting, like, what time is it? Is it 12 o'clock? And you basically don't sleep.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just remembered another one, which was I was on a ship. I think I was in Barbados Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas Day we were at sea. And the morning of Christmas Day, myself and the other entertainment hosts, we went up and down the guest corridors, ringing a bell, saying "Merry Christmas!"
Oh my God!
You know, mandated. Go out and spread Christmas cheer. But I guess until that time comes, you should just be as miserable as you possibly can, Sarah.
Yeah.
But then you have that, license to be as cheerful and happy as possible.
Exactly. So I'm practicing my frowning face right now.
Just don't let it. Just don't let it set when the wind changes. What's one of the worst, most ridiculous complaints that you had? Requests?
Yeah. Well, someone complained about me actually.
For ruining their Christmas.
For ruining. We have these things on the ship where you have to. One person from the entertainment team needs to stay on board, no matter what destination we are, to host quizzes or trivias.
And
I think that. Yeah, Port Manning, but we as the entertainment team need to have we are running quizzes throughout the day. So from 9 till 3 p.m, we have 8 different quizzes, and it is the same person doing these quizzes. You can imagine how entertained we are by that. And that is everybody's ideal job.
They've already won the pen or key ring.
That's it. So basically, these people who do these back-to-back cruises or just live on cruises know all the answers because these quizzes are the same. Like throughout the fleet of the ships, they are the same. So you could have done this quiz on a ship somewhere else, right? Yeah. So I had this woman who pretty much had done every quiz that I was doing. So she was getting all the answers right and winning all the prizes, which was something.
Bit naff.
And so other people was getting upset, and then this woman would give the prize away. And I'm like, but that's not the point. Then you're taking it away. So basically, I basically said on the mic, you're devaluing our prizes by giving them away. Like, just don't play. Basically, I said it in a joking manner. I was like, "Oh, isn't that?" No, I can't even remember how I said it. But anyway,
how is that enjoyable though? Like, if you are the one and you know the answers, it's just like, just don't bother. Like,
just don't bother. Like, but you're doing it for your own ego, and also, why are you staying on the shit this whole time doing all the quizzes? Never got off. And so she made a complaint about me that I embarrassed her and that I owe her an apology.
Okay.
And the joke is the entertainment director knew who it was. They were like, I know you didn't do this in a rude way. I know who you're talking about. So don't stop being you and don't stop your personality. This person just wants to get free upgrades. And so what I realized is that people make complaints on purpose so that the company
is obliged to cater to them.
Yeah.
We call them professional complainers.
Yeah. And it's a big thing, especially, well, it was majority Americans that were apparently doing it. And I was just like, that's just so unheard of for me. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a British thing that we don't like complaining. We'll talk about you behind your back, be like, oh God, that wasn't very good, but we'll never dare say it to you.
Yeah, like not sending food back to the kitchen if it's not right. I mean, I don't subscribe to that. Yeah, if I can't eat my food because it's ice cold in the middle or it's been chucked in the microwave and it's got microwave burn and it's like cardboard.
Yeah.
On those extremes of the scale. But what I was going to quickly ask you, you said you do, is it 8 or something quizzes a day now?
Yeah.
That's mental. That's mental.
Yeah.
How many games of bingo?
So again, that would depend on each cruise. And basically one time we had to do 2 bingos a day and I think it was 3 to 5 in a week. And because again, when we can't stop at a destination, we have to put on more activities, which is bingo. I don't know why they love bingo so much, because it's a moneymaker. That's why.
Yeah.
But basically, guests were complaining to us that there's too much bingo and there's this and there's that. And yeah, we were like, do you think we like hosting bingo? Like, 2 a day was crazy. Like
two games, so two sessions.
2 sessions, and each session would have 5 games.
So that's 10 games
10
of bingo.
games of bingo.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was like 3 to 5 in a week.
Here's another question, because I know that I don't know if you've ever heard of well, you know, the different holiday parks around the country, obviously Pontins and Butlins.
Yeah.
I don't know, is Haven still a thing?
Yeah. My friend's going there next week. Yeah.
Okay. Park Dean, do you know Park Dean Resorts?
I haven't heard of that one, but
that's another one. I went to one of the Park Dean resorts down in Essex a couple months back with my girlfriend and her friends, and we played bingo a couple times. And basically the way it's set up now across the Park Dean resorts is that every resort, every entertainment host is calling bingo. Or they're not even calling bingo. They're set up to start bingo at the exact same time. So the numbers get called out by a robot, but that robot is calling the numbers out across all the other different resorts in the country. So somebody might call bingo and they might not be in the room. And the odds are very much stacked against you. And, you know, pretty much you won't be in the resort when somebody does win it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they don't do that on the ships and just go, so somebody on this ship over in the,
no, that would be mental. I don't think they have the Wi-Fi signal for that.
I hadn't thought about that. That would be very difficult. A real technical challenge.
Yeah, and there was a lot of technical challenges and difficulties often with signal, and that's why I make that joke, because the amount of times our screens would be down or the tech team hadn't synced something up for a new game. So we basically had like these other quizzes but were interactive for your phones, but it was all online. So again, you had to get on the free Wi-Fi, but then our servers had to be on the free Wi-Fi too to connect this whole thing, and it was just chaos every single time. So I hate those interactive things. It's just more stress on us for no reason.
You're in the great kind of transition between just doing stupidly simple paper and pencil quizzes and now having to get everyone on their smartphones to take part in the quiz.
Yeah.
I can't.
And then not everyone wants to do that, right? Because the majority of people were trying to escape like technology and just like,
or they're on the quiz on their phone and at the same time they're simultaneously Googling the answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually got quite scared on the ship one time, and it was due to, obviously, you are stuck on this ship with 5,000 people, and people, after they're drinking, they're just, obviously. Anyway, there was a domestic on board, basically. These 2 guests, this man was basically shouting at his girlfriend, and it looked like it was about to get, like, physically abusive. So basically, we just had to call security. And then someone actually got escorted outside of their room, and then security had to stand outside to make sure like nobody would come on board. And then I found out later that that person got arrested once we got back onto ship. And that was stuff that, again, like, I don't know the full story of, so I think would be really interesting.
It's unsettling,
Yeah, because this happened multiple times where we would get back to shore and there'd be police officers waiting for certain passengers, and I wouldn't know what the stories were, but I would find out later from like DJs and security that like fights had broken out in the club and drugs were on board and that sort of stuff. But yeah, that was something that was scary, because I was like, oh God. Yeah, you don't know what these people are going to do to you.
We touched earlier on prostitution, and obviously that's within the eyes of society, frowned upon. But it's each to their own. If they're doing it off their own back, and it's their body, their commodity, fair play to them, good luck to them. But what about the opposite side of that? Things that weren't consensual. Did we ever hear anything like that?
Yes. So basically,
I like to end on a
was...
high.
Oh, God.
That's a joke, an awful joke. Sorry. We'll try to wrap things up with a smile and a joke.
Yeah. How about after I tell you the story, then tell me a joke to remind me?
I will do my best.
Okay. So, like I said, when I first got on the ship, we had to do all these online trainings, but there were actually quite a few crew trainings, but it was about socialization and about having fun on board. So basically, we had to do these scavenger hunts in groups with people from different departments. And then they told us we had to swap numbers with those people on our groups to share pictures. And it was done in a friendly manner at the end. So I didn't know if it was formal, informal, whatever. Anyway, so I'm sharing these pictures, we're sharing our numbers. And then one of the guys messages me and is like, oh, I think you're really sexy. I would really love to get to know you. And I was like, oh, not interested. And then he was basically like, don't play hard to get with me. You was flirting with me during this game. And I think because, again, part of my job is to be entertaining or whatever, that's part of my personality. I just thought we were playing a game of scavenger hunt. So, like, I'm bantering with the team. Yeah. And so I think banter can, I don't know, some people think it's flirty, whatever. And so, yeah, he basically wouldn't stop messaging me. And so I told my cruise director, I was like, I feel like this is really inappropriate. And I also feel really uncomfortable. This person has my number, also knows where I live. I feel like he's going to, like, come after me, like, after a night in the crew bar. And so one night in the crew bar, we had all had a couple of drinks and this person worked in the same department as me. And so I was basically spudding everyone to, like, say bye. And he was like, oh, where's my hug?
For the people that don't know, spudding is just giving someone a fist bump.
Yeah, fist bump. Yeah, thank you. Do people not know that?
Well, you can't assume everyone uses that term.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so then I went to spud everyone. He went in for a hug. I didn't want a hug, so I backed away. Then he basically grabbed his arms around me, and because I was backing off anyway, we fell onto the floor. And then everyone saw this and they were kind of laughing, but I was like, I don't really find that funny because I didn't want to be hugged by you and now we've backed up onto the floor. I just found it really inappropriate. And so I spoke to a couple of, like, the girls on my team. I was like, do you find this guy a bit creepy because of how he messages? And, like, do you feel like he always wants to hug? And that's the thing too. There's clear boundaries for me about, like, a friendly work environment. If I offer you the hug, then that's fine. But if I don't want to hug you and I put my, like, fist out to fist bump you or handshake you, then let's just keep it as that. And so anyway, a couple of the girls also said he's been doing the same thing to them. And then someone who was married, he came on to her and was basically like, come on, let's have sex because we're good friends and your husband's not here right now. And she's a very religious woman as well. So she found this highly offensive and she came to me because I was in the office at the time and was like, I find this person really offensive. I'm going to have to make a complaint against them because they've said this to me. And then one of our other team members was also in the room and was like, this person's also tried to, like, touch me inappropriately, whether it was a hug or something, or basically saying, come to my room, I want to have sex with you, speaking indecently as well. And this is what I mean about the lines being blurred, because in a professional manner, in an office setting, or even in a show in West London, like that stuff just wouldn't go down. But also you don't live next door to these people. So that's what's quite scary too. So anyway, after I told the cruise director, the other ladies that this happened to told the entertainment director, and they are basically the cruise director's boss. So then they were like, they are the head of the whole entertainment team. And they said, we can't let this go by, especially if there's three of you saying this about this one person. This one person is making all three of you feel uncomfortable. And so we basically had to go down to security and they interviewed us one at a time with cameras in our face, and everything was going down on record. And I was unprepared for how this kind of interrogation of how it was going to go down, because I thought I was just having a chat with my manager. But they did warn me. They did say, listen, I can't now hear this information of how somebody has made you feel and 3 other women feel. I have to raise this with security. This is now a HR. So then we all had to go down to security one at a time. There's 4 security men, all with cameras, and then one lady from HR asking me what happened. And then they were like interrogating the way I was rejecting a hug. They were interrogating whether I was texting back in a flirty manner. They wanted all screenshots from this. And this was going back like a couple of weeks for me, because I only went to the security, or basically after this other lady had told me something inappropriate. The religious lady who was in a relationship with someone then wanted to raise it. So I was basically supporting her story. So I actually wasn't going to say anything, because I was like, oh, you know, these inappropriate things happen. I'm just going to avoid this person. Like, yes, it makes me feel uncomfortable, but I'm new here. I just got this job type thing. But yeah, I only came forward because these 2 other ladies were talking about it and I wanted to support them. And then after about 40 minutes of interrogation being filmed and asked for screenshots and to reenact this story that happened like weeks ago, to then kind of having to write it down word for word, naming the times, which again, if something's happened 2-3 weeks ago and you're not really trying to think about it, you're trying to forget it. I didn't want to trip up or like make mistakes. It's hard to try to relive that when you're basically trying to forget it.
I get that, yeah.
No, and then I had to go out and host a party. So I came out in near tears because it felt quite threatening being there interrogated by men who don't believe you, because they kept saying things to me like, we need evidence, we need to see it, nobody's guilty, if anything needs to happen, we need to see it.
You're trying to nip it in the bud because it's something that's happened to other people.
Yeah.
So you don't need the evidence.
Yeah.
You're aware of this behaviour and you're just trying to help
Yeah.
accelerate some kind of action to be taken before it's too late.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of like feeling anxious and just worried that I was going to trip up or say the wrong thing. And yeah, when you're interrogated, you're made to feel like you were doing something wrong. Like the way they were questioning was like, but what did you do? How was you standing? Was you flirting with this person? Why are you talking to this person? And I was like, because I work with this person. Then they were questioning why I was in the bar. Why was you in the crew bar? Why did you stay out till that late? And I was like, hold on, when were all these things not okay for me to do? So that I found really hard at the beginning to deal with. And then again, yeah, come out and then I had to host a party.
They weren't like asking, what were you wearing? Were you, you know?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Really?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they were like, what has your behaviour been like? Yeah, yeah.
Were you wearing
those questions.
Were you wearing something suggestive to lead?
Something revealing, yeah. Yes. And then they said, maybe this person thinks it's culturally okay in their country. So what happened in the aftermath after these 2 other women got interrogated as well? We got called back into the room and said this person has apologized and they didn't know this behavior was inappropriate and that this is a cultural difference because in their country this is acceptable. And I always said, what country is it acceptable if somebody says they don't want to hug you and then you hug them and then you fall to the floor? In what country is it acceptable when a married woman is telling you that she doesn't want to have sex with you and you insist on, like, how is that a cultural difference? And so they just said they're apologizing for what they are doing. They're going to hold themselves accountable, but they're basically on a warning now. So the other 2 women were not happy with this because they were just like, I have to continue working with this person and just ignore them. But you have to work in close proximity. So there'd be times where you'd have to be in a close office with this person or a theatre or the sound or the editing, like all these scenarios in the crew bar. So it just became a bit difficult and uncomfortable. You have to constantly see them around the space because you couldn't actively avoid them when you're working in the same department.
No, oh, I do hear that.
So,
Yeah, I'm sorry for your experience there. I
yeah.
mean, you're not alone. This is something that is kind of widespread throughout the industry. And I mean, just to play devil's
Mm,
advocate, just for those who are thinking,
mm,
like, why are they asking all these questions? It's because allegations that aren't true are just as serious as allegations that are.
mm,
And if someone is just like, I want to get that
yeah.
person fired just because I don't like them, for
Mm,
whatever reason,
yeah.
that's then not fair. So this is the
Yeah.
reason
And they did
they
say that actually. They
that
did say that, yeah.
so there, this is the reason they have to go
Yeah.
following protocol and asking all these questions to
Mm-hmm.
ensure no stone is left unturned and that the motives of the individual who's
Mm-hmm.
been accused are genuine or sinister.
Yeah.
And so that
Yeah.
cultural
Yeah.
difference then can really be kind of held up under the microscope because it's never going away, I don't think, when you've got this many people on board in a small space,
Mm,
cultures from all around the
mm.
world, you know.
Because afterwards, then I spoke to our managers about it, and they were like, "We do believe in you. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable. However, this is the difference between a man's livelihood and the rest of his career if this goes down on his record." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, but this is three women that are saying it. So do you believe us all three women that?" And then, yeah. So I get it. I do get it. I understand.
Was there any funny incident that you wanted to end on?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that. Stupid questions or stupid things that guests say to you when you are off the ship. So obviously we are allowed off the ship. We are allowed. That is one of the main reasons why we all take these jobs. So a common phrase that people said when they saw me off the ship. Oh, so they let you off then? And they really expect me to laugh with them. But by that point, I literally don't want to speak to anybody because I want to have my 2 hours of silence. So yeah,
Silence.
that is it. So,
Yeah.
silence. So they let you off the ship.
Oh yeah,
That's
unless
it.
of course it was COVID lockdown, then they wouldn't let you off the ship.
Then they didn't. Yeah, I
I'm
feel
sorry, I'm
for
trying
those
to end
people.
things on a light note, but I keep
You are.
failing.
You do. Dragging us back down.
If anything, Sarah, I hope that you have a wonderful contract. The next one is incident free, and you have a genuine Christmas experience rather than a shoddy, phony,
Yes, thank you.
fake one. And
Thank you.
yeah, I hope that you don't encounter anything untoward or otherwise, and that it's smooth sailing for you.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that.
That's all right. So thanks again. I appreciate you wanting to keep your name, your identity, all of that out of the recording. But what you're doing is something that not many people would have the courage to do, which is whilst they're under contract, have the courage to come on a podcast like this and tell it how it is. So again, thank you very much for doing that, and thank you for giving me your time this evening.
Thank you so much, Sam, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Lovely. Well, I wish you bon voyage for the next journey, and maybe when you get back to London, we'll go out for a drink and we'll have a catch up. Off the record, no cameras, interrogations over Zoom this time.
All right. I look forward to it.
Nice one.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Take it easy. Bye. Bye.
So there you have it. That wraps it up for this episode of Deck Tales. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've been entertained by the tales of laughter, camaraderie and the occasional stormy sea, then don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment. There are lots of other shows out there to compete with, so if you are enjoying Deck Tales, why not help us out by going over to Spotify or Apple and dropping us a 5-star rating. This will boost the show's visibility and help to attract new listeners every week. Before I sign off, if you'd like to share your own stories for future episodes, then I'd love to hear from you. Simply get in touch over the socials because after all, the best stories often come from our listeners. As we navigate through the waters of life, remember to enjoy the journey as much as the destination, as well as those you choose to share the adventure with. I've been your Captain Sammy Catlin. Until next time, fair winds, smooth sailing, and may your adventures be as unforgettable as those shared here on Deck Tales. Bon voyage!